2025 has the potential to be the biggest year the UFC has ever had. A ton of big fights. You have Tom Aspinall, John Jones, Pereira, Ankalaev, Khamzat, Dricus, Ilya. Is he going to move up? Is he going to stay down? A lot of unanswered questions. I did really good for main event predictions last year, 12 for 14. The only two I got wrong were Sean O'Malley and Merab and Leon and Bilal. And for my predictions for the champions at the end of the year, how did I do last year? Well, I picked Moreno. I didn't think he was going to lose to Royval, in my opinion. I picked O'Malley, got that one wrong. Picked Ilya, got that right. Picked Islam. Picked Shavkat, may have gotten it done. Who knows? Picked Dricus, picked Pereira, picked Aspinall. But getting straight into it, 2025, the flyweight division, I think it comes down to two people. And I'm going to give my prediction, but I think it's either going to be Pantoja or Kai Kara-France. It's really hard to decide because I do think Kai Kara-France is underrated. I thought he beat Amir Albazi, in my opinion. He has really good takedown defense, and he doesn't have the Figgy power, but he is one of the hardest hitters at 125. And we saw what he did to Steve Erceg. And I know that doesn't, automatically win him the championship. It means he's going to chin Pantoja. But it was an amazing performance. Even before he knocked him out, he was outstriking Steve Erceg. And I feel like Pantoja, he's underrated on the feet, but he's going to have to mix it up in this fight. I think Royval and Manel Kape are fighting March 1st. I think Royval is going to win that fight, and I don't think either of those two will beat Pantoja, even though he's going to be 35, which would be the oldest champion, I think, in the division ever. There is the 35 curse, so maybe Pantoja, he's taking a lot of damage. Maybe he slows down. Moreno, I think he'll probably fight maybe, I don't even know, Kaya Sakura maybe. I think Steve Erceg is going to fight, I think, Alimbayev, I forgot how to say his name, up-and-comer who's really good. I think Albayev will win that fight. I think Steve Erceg is going to go on a Dominic Reyes run, potentially. And yeah, I think it's so tough with this fight. But who am I going to pick to hold the belt? I'm going to go with Pantoja. I do think that he will beat Kai Kara-France. I think he could submit him. We have seen Kara-France. We've seen Kai get knocked out before, right? I get against Moreno was like a liver kick, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. I think Pantoja will win a close decision where his cardio holds up, he mixes in the takedowns, and even though Kai Kara-France has really good takedown defense, I do believe Pantoja will get him down multiple times and control him. Moving on to the next division, Bantamweight. There's really 4 contenders and 4 potential people. You have Umar and Merab, who are fighting in a few weeks, and then you have Peter Yan and Sean O'Malley. I feel like that they need to fight each other, O'Malley and Yan, for the number 1 contender. You have to do that rematch, 5 rounds, maybe co-main event of a pay-per-view. That's what I want to see. Usually I don't like 5-round co-main events. This is an exception. This is going to be an entertaining fight, and whoever wins this absolutely deserves a title shot and will be undisputed for the belt. Who do I think is going to win? Well, I think versus Umar versus Merab, it's tough, but I am going to go with Umar. I think that he beats Merab. I think he's so much better on the feet. He's so much faster. He has amazing kicks. He has good takedown defense, and I think he could potentially reverse Merab like Henry Cejudo did. And I think his cardio holds up. I think he also beats Yan or O'Malley. They both got taken down by Merab. That's my prediction. For featherweight, in my opinion, this is tough because we don't know what is Ilya going to do. He made it interesting for this pick, right? I think it comes down to Ilya, Volk, or Lopez. I think Evelev is good. I don't think that they're going to give him a title shot, though. Unless Ilya vacates the belt and it's Lopez and Volk and they have no one else to defend their belt, then I guess they'll have to give it to Evelev. But Evelev already said that he's going to try to get a fight before Ramadan. However, he's not going to get an opponent. So he's not going to fight probably till June, and he's not going to get a title shot. And he doesn't fight that often, so honestly, I don't think he's going to get a title shot. I don't think he's in the mix. And between these people, I think it's going to be Ilya. I think Ilya beats both of these guys. I think most people would agree with that. But I don't think he vacates the belt. I just don't think it makes sense. You get paid a lot more when you're the champ defending your belt. You have pay-per-view points. You get paid a lot more. And I'd like to see him stay at 145. I wouldn't be mad if he moved up. I think he stays, and I think he defends his belt against Volk in March or April, and then I think he knocks out Lopez at the end of the year. I think he finishes both guys, in my opinion. Moving on to lightweight. This is interesting, because I've been saying for a while, I'm not going to spoil my pick. I'm still undecided, but I really think Arman could beat Islam in the rematch. And you also have Charles Oliveira, who's dangerous everywhere. He's not an easy fight for anyone. I get Islam kind of made it easy, but still, there's still the danger factor. Oliveira, he looked amazing in his last fight. And who am I going with the champ? Who am I going to pick to defend their belt, to hold the belt at the end of the year? I'm going to go with Islam. And here's why. I probably will pick Arman to beat Islam. And there's another prediction I have later on that's very similar. I'm going to pick Arman probably to beat Islam in January. And I think, unfortunately, Oliveira will not get a title shot. He's going to fight like Max Holloway and lose. So I know how this goes with Oliveira. We've seen the story before against Arman. But for Arman to hold the belt at the end of the year, he has to beat Islam, the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world. And then he has to beat him in the trilogy again, probably in Abu Dhabi at the end of the year. That is going to be such a difficult task. And for Oliveira, he has to hope that Islam wins, because if Arman wins, they're going to do the trilogy, and all of them are pretty inactive, so he's not going to get a title shot. So for Oliveira to win, he has to hope that Islam wins, even though it's a harder matchup for him, and then he somehow is able to probably get the submission. I probably would pick Islam in that fight. But yeah, unless Islam has a horrible injury, it's a bad KO, he needs to take time off, and they decide to do Arman versus Oliveira for the belt, I think that's Oliveira's best chance to become the champ at the end of the year. But I'm going to go with Islam because I think he probably would win in the trilogy, although I likely will pick Arman to defeat Islam Makhachev. I think it's just a safe bet. It just makes sense. Moving on, welterweight. This is, I feel like, the most interesting division. You have Bilal Shavkat, you have JDM, you have Buckley, you have Ian Gary, Sean Brady, Prates, Morales. You have so many guys coming up. Usman's still in the mix. Colby Covington. You have a lot of guys, and we don't have any of the matchups yet. We have no clue who's going to fight who. And based on the matchups, that's really going to determine who gets the belt. But I have to go with the safe bet here. We know that Bilal and Shavkat are going to fight, and we know it's going to be probably after Ramadan, and it probably will be in May or June if I had to guess. Both of those guys are really inactive fighters. So after that fight, whoever wins the belt will max defend the belt max one time. Probably not twice, and they may not even defend the belt in 2025. They're so inactive. So I feel like you have to pick one of those two guys. I'm going to go with Shavkat Rakhmonov, in my opinion. I think he beats Bilal in a close decision. And I think this is going to be the first time Bilal loses a split decision, in my opinion. I think Shavkat's going to get it done. And I think he probably would beat JDM, maybe. I don't know. I think he probably would beat JDM. Buckley's there too. You have Ian Gary, who Shavkat beat. I think he defends the belt one more time against probably JDM. I could also see Buckley, Sean Brady. Sean Brady, he's a dark horse. I think he's the dark horse of the division. I think Prates, I like him, but he's a little overrated, in my opinion. I don't think he's going to be the champ. And I think people are underestimating Leon against Prates. I think Leon, his boxing sucks, but I think we could see a better version of Leon. Leon is also in the mix. I forgot to add him. I'm going to go with Shavkat, though. It's the safe bet. Moving on, middleweight. So you have Dricus du Plessis, Sean Strickland, Hamzat. Those are the three guys it's going to come down to. It's going to be Dricus, Strickland, and the winner is going to fight Hamzat. So it's very straightforward on who's going to be the champ, right? Dricus, Strickland, very close fight. Strickland arguably won the first time. Dricus, though, I do think he's going to beat Strickland. And based on that performance will kind of determine if I pick him against Khamzat, because he has to finish Strickland or dominate him for me to pick him against Khamzat. He has to show me that his finishing potential is unreal and he can finish Khamzat Chimaev, which I think is possible. I'm not going to say it's likely, but it's very possible. So I don't think it's going to be Strickland, because even if Strickland beats Dricus, I'm confident Khamzat's going to beat Strickland. And it's very tough because Dricus versus Khamzat, in my opinion, is a 50-50 fight. I made a video on it. I said I'm likely going to pick Dricus. That's my early lean, but it's still 50-50. I think the problem that Dricus faces is he has to, it's going to be probably in Abu Dhabi, right? He has to finish Khamzat, because I think he could win on points. I really do. I think his cardio is underrated. He pushes himself like no other fighter, I feel like, in the UFC. He's one of my favorite fighters. I really like Khamzat too. I like both of the guys, but I want to see the fight. It's Abu Dhabi. And I don't want to sound like I'm complaining, but they do favor their fighters more than other fighters. I think most people would agree with me. So they're not going to let Dricus defend his belt in Abu Dhabi unless he dominates him, which I don't think is likely, or he finishes him, which I think could happen. On top of that, Dricus has to win 2 times. Khamzat only has to win 1 time in his, not home territory, but you know what I mean, a place where he's more familiar with than Dricus du Plessis. Dricus has shown he has no problem going to other countries and winning. Who am I going to pick? Early lean Khamzat Chimaev, even though, just like I said with the Arman pick, I likely will pick Dricus du Plessis to beat Khamzat. It's just Khamzat, it's the safe pick because he only has to fight once. He gets to take all this time off to prepare for Dricus du Plessis, while Dricus has to probably go to war with Sean Strickland again and then turn around and then fight Khamzat in a place where they're going to favor Khamzat. So Dricus, his back is against the wall. I'm rooting for him. I like Khamzat, but Dricus is one of my favorite fighters. Again, I probably will pick Dricus to beat Khamzat Chimaev, but it's the safe pick to go with Khamzat. I think it makes more sense, but I'm rooting for Dricus du Plessis. I hope he gets it done. Moving on, we have the light heavyweight division. It comes down to 2 people. It's going to be Pereira or Ankalaev. If Pereira beats Ankalaev, he's guaranteed the belt, in my opinion. Ankalaev, though, if he wins, I guess they'll do a rematch. I think that makes the most sense. There's not many deserving contenders in the division. I know people say Yuri or Hill because they, I feel like they both underperformed in their title fights, but I don't think either one of them, even if Pereira loses, I don't think that they beat Ankalaev. I think Ankalaev is so much better on the feet than both of those guys. How I see this fight going, if Ankalaev wins, they'll probably do a rematch, but Pereira, he is old. He's like 37, 38, but for light heavyweight, that's not too old. You could still be a champion. That's not the 35 curse or anything. And I think that this is a close fight. I've been picking Pereira forever. I picked him last year. I said he beats Ankalaev. Ankalaev isn't really a wrestler. He just wrestles when he has to. However, in this fight, Pereira, he has the leg kicks, which Ankalaev has been better at checking, even though Pereira has such good leg kicks. There's no telegraph on them. He's going to land them. It's going to hurt Ankalaev, which could make him want to wrestle. We've seen Ankalaev drop before. We've seen him hurt by leg kicks in the Jan Blachowicz fight. He dominated Jan Blachowicz on the ground in rounds 3, 4, and 5. And in this fight, who am I going to pick? Early pick. Again, I may change it. I'm going to go with Ankalaev. I think that he is really good on the feet. I think he has good boxing. I think his defense has improved. I think he's powerful. I don't think he's going to knock out Pereira. I think Pereira has a pretty good chin at 205, and I think he's just going to mix it up. I think he's just going to mix up the wrestling with the striking, with the grappling, and I think that he's going to defeat Pereira by a decision. I could see him getting robbed, though, so it's tough, and if they do the rematch, I would pick him again. I think Ankalaev is going to end the year as champ, and I am rooting for Pereira, but I like Ankalaev. He clearly beat Jan Blachowicz, in my opinion. I thought that was a robbery, even though I did think he kind of underperformed in that fight. Moving on, the heavyweight division, one of two people, Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall. They're likely going to fight. The winner is going to hold the belt. Probably going to be the only defense of the year. Maybe they do a rematch. I'm going with Tom Aspinall, even though I'm not doubting Jon Jones. Jon Jones could absolutely win this fight. I despise Jon Jones. I really don't like him. I hope he gets brutally knocked out, but he absolutely has a shot. Tom Aspinall has not been beating the best competition. He's just beating who's in front of him, which is the best for heavyweight. It's still not good, though. Jon Jones has a really good chin and is a very good grappler, where I do think he potentially could take down, but it's tough though, because he couldn't take down Dominic Reyes in the first 3 rounds. Even in round 4, it wasn't until Dominic Reyes thought he won the fight and he was tired until round 5, where he was consistently getting the takedowns. If I could remember correctly, I'm going to go with Tom Aspinall by a first round knockout. I know people say, oh, no way he's going to knock him out in the first. Well, I mean, do you think that he's going to beat him by a 48-47 close decision? Do you think he's going to submit him? If he beats him, it's going to be probably by an early knockout. But yeah, moving on. What we've all been anticipating, the strawweight champion, Zhang Weili, Tatiana Suarez. Zhang Weili wins. Maybe they have her go up and fight at 125. I'd like to see it. She's done a ton of stuff. I like Zhang Weili. Tatiana Suarez, I don't hate her, but she doesn't deserve a title shot. She'd be an awful champion. She fights once every 2 years. She does not deserve the title fight at all. You know, Zhang Weili is not active either. Early pick, I may change it. I'm going to go with Zhang Weili. I think that her wrestling defense is pretty good, and I think that she beats Tatiana Suarez. Moving on, flyweight champ, Fiorot versus Valentina Shevchenko. Shevchenko coming off of the best performance of her career, maybe the best. One of the best performances. Very boring, but very dominant. Her wrestling looked amazing. Her control time looked amazing. Her submission defense looked amazing. However, I'm going to go with Fiorot. I think that she's super big for the division. She's long for the division. She has great takedown defense. I think Shevchenko is going to have a hard time taking her down. Fiorot isn't young. She's like 34 or something, but she's in her prime still, and her striking is very good. She outstruck Rose Namajunas. I think that she beats Shevchenko. Unless her cardio doesn't hold up, I think that she beats Shevchenko by a decision. Shevchenko is like 37, 38. She's pretty old. Moving on. Bantamweight, Juliana Pena, Kayla Harrison. That's the next fight to make. And then after that, we have no clue. You know, maybe Nunes, maybe she goes up. Maybe she comes out of retirement. Who knows? I think that she'll stay retired, and I think Kayla Harrison is going to win. In my opinion, I forgot a few of the female fighters, not really at bantamweight. I think Natalia Silva is pretty good for strawweight. She can maybe make a run. I honestly don't really care too much about WMMA. You know, I'll watch it, but it's whatever. Those are my predictions. Let me know what you agree with, what you disagree with. That is it for me. And yeah.